Hey, Rumble, we love you. Remember how yesterday I said that today would be a big-ass show? Well, it was. So if you're watching right now on Rumble, you have like an hour and a half of free show. Go to louderwithcrowder.com/mug club. You get this wonderful hand-etched girthy mug, but you also get, I think today, like another hour and 20 minutes of show, and you get that every single day. It's a big-ass show. So 2 mugs. 2 mugs, and you can fit a beer and a half in each of these mugs.
Hey everyone, Whistleblower 22 here. You may know that Joe Biden was recently seen with a blood-filled left eye during a climate town hall. To a normie, this is just more proof that this actual f***ing baby boomer is too old to support a closed circulatory system. While this is true, the more important truth we'll hear is that... Mom, I'm recording! Is that this answers the reptilian question. This autist on poll pointed out the similarities between Joe Biden and a horned lizard with this disgusting ability to squirt blood from its eye. Uncle Joe must have felt threatened by so many questions and just couldn't suppress his natural instincts. I shouldn't even have to mention the other obvious similarity that old Creepy Joe shares with a horny lizard. Thanks for watching. If you want to support me, you can pledge to my GoFundMe and help my command center move to a better space to make videos. Currently, I can only work on videos at night while my mom's asleep. Until next time, Whistleblower out.
Louder with Crowder is brought to you in part by .com. Support the fight. Go buy some merchandise at the shop. It's a great conversation starter and irritates all the right people. .com.
There we go. I didn't scald myself
That
this
was
time.
good, yeah,
I
nice.
still got my tea going on. For people
Decent.
who, I sound like Hunter Biden after a night riddled with parm.
Like a tooth.
I'm still sick. No COVID. Took another test.
Yeah. Okay. That's your 5th
Turns out the flu is still a thing.
Oh. Do you
Or a
have that?
cold or anything else.
Oh.
So, we'll sanitize the area. And if I sound like an 82-year-old with emphysema hacking up a lung, you know why. But I'm so grateful for this mug, by the way. It really is. I can hold a lot of soup.
So girthy.
There you go.
Hold a lot of tea, girthy. People who are watching right now on Rumble, of course, you can go to Mug. That's where you join up. louderwithcrowder.com/Mug Club. You get like an hour of additional show, stuff that could never air on YouTube. Or this week, we refer to that as all of it.
Entire show.
So we're going to be talking about a lot. A wrap-up of Biden this week. So many mistakes he's made. The Iron Dome in Israel. Tess Holliday, and also one of the top executives over there, I don't know what the term is, at the CDC, who was found to be colluding with teachers' unions. Which,
What?
Who
Hey.
would have thought that government bureaucracy could be corrupted?
Never.
No.
It's not possible.
So we'll be talking about
believe
all
you.
of this.
Lies.
And more. Gerald A. is here with me. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Come on, don't ask. How are you, Quarterback Garrett?
Buying the dip. That's what I'm doing. Buying it, dude.
Diamond head.
That's going to be a new
Smacking
term,
off
like
those
on,
whales.
on fleek. It's where I go to bars that people use lingo that I don't understand.
yeah, exactly.
Like, how are you? Buying the dip on fleek?
Yep.
Oh,
What does that mean?
Good.
Is it, I'm going to hurt you. Oh, okay. I thought you were a friendly dip buyer.
means my portfolio sucks.
Yes. It's my
At the moment.
What I'm saying is you
mitigate
got to
my
diversify and buy low and sell high unless you're trying to short it. Do you need me to explain to you the difference between a bear and a bull market? I'm like,
come on.
Yeah, I guess I could.
Jeez, okay.
I had no idea I was going to learn all this at Jiggles.
You could.
Dave Landau is here. How are you, sir?
Ahoy!
You have a show coming up here?
I do. This weekend you can see me at the Toledo Funny Bone.
Oh, that'll be funny.
Yeah.
Lido.
It'll be funny.
Harrisburg, technically.
Funny to the bone. That's horrible. All right, so
When
before
the funny hits the bone.
Are you
funny
going to go to
hits the
Nathan's?
I
Isn't there a
put the
Nathan's?
bone in Funny Bone.
Oh, I get it.
Huh?
So let's talk about this. Father of the year is what I want to talk about because
good,
Father's Day
yeah.
is coming up. And of course, listen, we're not beyond recognizing humanity. There are fathers across all political spectrums,
Yes.
all walks of life, including terrorists. Terrorists are someone's father, too. So in anticipation for Father's Day, we have an exclusive of the early frontrunner for Palestine's Father of the Year. He's a Jew.
Good man.
Oh, wow.
The Father of the Year was a twist. You look confused.
I looked
You got
away.
me.
I didn't want to see the child blow up.
Yeah, I didn't know if the car was going to
Yeah,
move.
I
I
know.
was like,
we can't show that on
What
here.
kind of joint do you think I'm running
Well,
here?
I thought you
Spike
would
Lee
stop
joint.
It was the
before.
IDF. He high-fived the kid. And by the
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
that could have gone very easily another direction. And I don't mean that they would just shoot the child. I mean that child could have been a suicide bomber.
That's
could
what
have
I
shot
mean.
with a weapon.
I
No.
was worried about that.
yeah,
Look at that. But
he's
I was
very nice.
expecting a lot
Good man.
more than just a fist bump.
The pro-Hamas father sent him into battle
Yeah.
against a man in full battle regalia with an actual assault rifle. Not assault weapons, by the way.
Right.
Assault rifle, an actual military-style rifle. And then the Jewish father, or as Democrats know them, the devil father, just gave him a little fist bump.
Aw, nice.
It's amazing. He
You
gets that
subverted
video.
your expectations.
Which, by the way, hey, go to CrowderShop.com to buy some cool merch for your dad. We have Father's Day stuff.
yeah.
We have Best Dad Ever, Changed My Mind. We do actually now have some tumblers just because, the mug sometimes people, we had to deal with some lawsuits of people trying to drink in the car, which we've never advocated. We've never advocated that.
Never.
No.
But now we make it, you have a tumbler. But
This
still.
dad fights like hell. I like that. That's good.
Okay.
Last year, my son got me a tie. Well, it was a noose, but
Yes. Well, it turns
to
out
send
it
a
was a
message.
rope that was just hanging on the garage
Yes.
from years past.
hey,
so.
he didn't actually give it to me. I just kept thinking about it.
Come on. He included a dirty magazine. He
Oh,
was just trying to put a
wow.
smile on your face. All
It
right.
was a playgirl.
I saw Life as a House. So this is something, during yesterday's show, I wanted to talk about this. We sort of mentioned it on air, but it happened live, and no one had really talked about it yet. And so we noticed something, actually. It was Danny. Danny, thank you for sending in
With an
your
I.
comment, with an I, Danny with an I, that Biden was pretending to drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we have a picture of it or no? We have it. We just have it
Yeah,
later in the
we
montage.
have it in here.
But if you look at it, when he was driving there was a second steering wheel.
There was a
Yeah.
driving.
And he turns, he makes a jerk, and the car doesn't move.
Ha.
So there was clearly, and his head goes back and to the left. So,
Her dress was ruined.
yeah, well, it's the rule. Presidents aren't allowed to drive, actually, especially ones, who've been in government since before segregation ended.
Yeah,
so,
that was long before he
Yes.
became president.
well, but at that time, he was using the words racial jungle, I believe.
Yeah.
But this was a big week. Not only that, for former Vice President Joe Biden. So we're going to, usually we do, that's our Biden. We have a moment. But there was so much that happened this week. We just want to give you a wrap up, the stuff that you would have never seen in the media. Few gaffes. So we'll go through the montage. He was fake driving a car, threatened to run over a reporter, quoted Mao, by the way.
Oh, no.
Told the Coast Guards that they needed to laugh. And not in this montage, but he actually plagiarized a statement from Ronald Reagan.
Oh, boy.
And he called the Coast Guard a dull class. So here you go, this week in the Biden wrap-up, so we don't have to do it again.
True international under pressure.
Mr. President!
This sucker's quick.
Mr. President, can I ask you a quick question on Israel before you drive
No,
away?
you
since
can't.
It's so important?
Not unless you get in front of the car as I step on it. I'm only teasing. The hard nucleus around the Navy forms in times of war. You're a really dull class. I would think you'd have an opportunity when I say that about the Navy to clap.
Please clap.
There's a saying we use in a different context, a Chinese saying. It says, women hold up half the world.
The third lesson and tip actually come from two of my favorite political philosophers, Mao Zedong and Mother Teresa.
Hey, whoa,
Oh,
Toolbag
gee.
Tim, let's get a little bit friskier here on the soundboard. Yeah, that matters because you just need to see the history of action there. That Anita Dunn, I remember I was on Fox News. I was on Fox News when she quoted Mao.
Shocking.
And people thought back then it was so absurd, no one would ever do it. I was on Fox News with, I believe, Sean Hannity. I believe it was Lanny Davis or Doug Schoen. I don't remember, and there might have been Geraldo Rivera. And Sean Hannity, did his thing where, he had his talking points in front of him. And he said, well, what about, today where Anita Dunn quoted Mao? And they said, that's Sean, that's just the kind of division you're sowing, the radical. This is not true. She didn't quote Mao. I said, no, actually, she did quote Mao. It's
Yeah.
on video. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. And I looked to Sean, they ran the clip, and then we're sitting there, right? And by the way, they had us in a 4-quadrant, even though we were sitting in the same studio. And they want to make it seem international. And when they ran that clip, and she said, I look to Mao, I turned to Lanny Davis, and I just went, boom. And then when we came back, I don't know if the clip is still there. I said, hey, high five my square, high five my box. And I reached into his box. and it had a conversation with the press. It's that the left, they don't see a problem with quoting the guy who ran people over with tanks because communists are not bad to them. It's that Joe Biden, this isn't the first time he said, you guys are a dull class.
Yeah.
He said it before. He said, clap, you stupid bastards.
Exactly. He tells bad. He even butchered the statement. That was from Reagan. Reagan was 77 years old when he said that. And Reagan may have been quoting somebody else, and that's totally fine.
Right.
They laughed and cheered. And then the Navy and nuclei and cheer.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything that needed to clap. What would you clap for? His dementia? He just messed up a sentence. It's like, yeah, he's dying.
It's like, yeah, I heard this in 83. We've said it ever since. This is new to you.
It's like a drunken comedian who messes up his punchline and then gets mad at the audience.
Exactly.
We've all seen it.
Yes.
There was an audience who meant to reference A Walk to Remember and reference Titanic, and I was there, and it didn't work. And he was like, you guys are just idiots. You guys suck. And I was like, ooh, this is not going to go good.
No.
They're not even mad at you. They just don't understand what you're saying. Clap, you stupid bastards.
And then there was like two guys
Get
that
off the
ended up
stage, you
clapping
hack.
after that. They're like,
Yeah. Well, he's following Mao's lead. Mao, they didn't even have a prompter. He would just be sitting there going, hey, my God, I'm always saying clap. Please, no pens for me. Hey, by the way.
Chinese proverb. That's not what?
Yeah, open
No,
your
it's not.
fortune cookie. It's, you will be tire mark unless you clap. Oh. They don't have a problem with Mao.
no.
problem.
And by the way, this is not something that is unknown. You do research right now. Just go, do me a favor, search. Women hold up half the sky. It will be immediately attributed to Mao. In other words, not only did Biden, whether he didn't know or not, I think that he did know, he doesn't have anyone around him to tell him like, ooh, that's Mao.
The optics are bad.
They're all
Like a secure
it's Mao.
future for our people. So I'm like, ooh, okay, look, I understand what you're saying. I know you don't, but that's Hitler. So we're going to change the word. Huh? What? Who?
It bothers me that a guy who's mostly brain dead can only remember communist slogans.
Yeah, those are the only ones locked in the memory.
It's like my grandfather had a stroke and he couldn't talk, but he could sing happy birthday because it was a different part of his brain that he emotionally connected to.
No.
Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx Lenin. It's like he only knows that and the words to American Pie. Never misses a beat.
He can quote Mao. Can he drive a car by himself? No.
No.
That's
Secondhand.
a different lever.
No,
need to
but
install a wheel.
Tell you what, he is like a walking autistic encyclopedia on Lenin. Just
Wow.
It's incredible.
Just knows everything.
he will feed it out to you. Hey, by the way, sharing is caring. You guys can share this. I believe, is this a Rumble, what we're telling people to do?
Yeah,
Now, hit the
Rumble.
Rumble button.
Rumble.
Because if you're going to rumble, we'll rumble them right? Is it not showing up?
There it is.
I'm hearing sound effects. Okay, good. We're having a little bit of
there
tech
we go.
issues today. We lost some power this morning. And, of course, you guys can listen, subscribe on the podcast. We're not available on YouTube right now. You guys know about the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Go to louderwithcrowder.com to read more about it. But it's always available on Apple, Android, Spotify.
all that
I know
stuff.
it's only audio, but you can at least stay in touch with us. Question of the day is, do you really feel like teachers are essential workers? Or do you feel like they're heroes? We hear this term a lot now, essential workers. Have you noticed this?
I love the heroes part.
It's like they're the real heroes. And then we talk about essential workers. People are like, right now out there, essential workers, like fast food workers. Look, look.
Yeah, they also called them heroes for a while.
Yeah, they
It's
called
like,
them
no,
heroes
they don't
for a
work
while.
there.
If you don't show up for a job interview with a $50 carrot being dangled, I don't necessarily think you're essential. Now, what people mean when they say essential workers right now are convenience workers, things that we do on a day-to-day basis. However, if there's a nuclear holocaust, I would argue that the people, like, for all their faults, people like the Bill Gateses of the world, people like the Elon Musk of the world, the Henry Fords of the world, they're probably more essential than the guy who misses your slice of cheese on your fillet of fish.
Still holding on to that, aren't you?
Bill Gates,
I mean,
though.
if there's nothing left but a few families and some cockroaches, how long before you can drive a car?
Electricity.
And who do you want to help
you?
you out with it? This is just what we do. Our teachers are heroes.
Yeah.
Look, unpopular position? No.
Yeah, it's
I think it depends on the teacher.
Well, some can be, but they classified every one of them. It was like, just because you teach kids, you're now a hero. And I'm like, have we loosened the definition?
No, for the last year, a lot of them were like, you do it.
yeah, that's true.
That
They're
should
like,
be a
We're
job,
not
a
coming
position
into work.
you can just go, do it at home.
Well, we proved that you're not essential over the last year, right?
Yeah.
You
They're
guys
one of
did
the
a
few
terrible
people
job.
who that would be a perfect bumper sticker slogan for the teachers union, and it should be just, you do it, but it's not wordy enough. They're the only people of bumper stickers when the Air Force has to host a bake sale to buy bombers, and teachers, You're stupid. There's more national expenditures on education than there is in the military. Now, there's a difference because municipality, states, right?
Yeah.
State governments, they fund them more than the federal government because we need a national military. But that bumper sticker is stupid. Anyone who has it on their car, you can just have Biden. Just have Biden drive up next to him and floor it. I'm not saying there's a good chance that they'll get hit, but you won't be liable no matter what happens. Let the cards fall where they may.
My mom had one that said one of my sons is an honor student.
Take a guess.
Just guess.
And it had 2 pictures of you and your sibling and your face scratched out. And then below it said, not this one.
It was just my first mugshot at 15.
Disappointment there.
Really proud of that one. Put it on the fridge.
All right. So this is something that we're talking about, the CDC and education here. Look, I want to be really clear. I think that there are people who go into, obviously, teaching for altruistic reasons, who want to do good things.
Sure.
And I think there are people who go into government for inherently good reasons who want to make a difference.
Maybe.
However, that is not necessarily the rule. We can't say that it's the rule or it's the exception. It's like when you have a baby. I know I'm having twins. It's a 50-50 shot whether they're going to be a good baby or evil baby. I may have made the world a worse place by having brought these children into this world. It's a roll of the dice. It's the same thing when you're looking at teachers. It's the same thing when you look at these professions. If you go back through your life, how many really good teachers who took an interest in you can you remember? I can count on one hand.
Yeah, it's
one
usually
hand.
that. It's usually just a handful of teachers. And
2,
the rest you're kind of
yeah.
like, I just made it through Miss McClutchy's class.
Was that a real person?
No, probably not.
It is a real person. McClutchy, send your lawsuit this way.
No.
I had 2 that were great. I do remember that.
Yeah.
For real, though.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. I had one who I really liked, his name was, hopefully he doesn't get mad because I don't think he agrees with my politics. His name was Paul Mitchell. And it was my senior year English class. And it was very clear. I've talked about this on air before. He let you know ahead of time what you would be graded on the entire semester. So you had to read a book every semester, okay? That book would involve a comprehension test. What did you learn from the book? What do you remember from the book? That book would include some kind of a literary essay that you would have to write. And then in addition to that, you would have to do some kind of an oral, usually a persuasive oral.
Whoa.
Okay? Then you would have one grammar test. It's from the mouth, Gerald.
No, I got that part.
Then you would have one general sort of grammar test, okay? And then he gave you 10% of your grade if you just wrote something every day in a journal.
Oh, okay.
Didn't matter what it was.
Yeah.
But you knew this at the beginning of the semester. Just a different book each semester, different content that you would go over as far as grammar, as far as syntax. And after the first semester, they came to him and said, these were standardized tests, by the way, the literary tests. We all had to read the same books. They said, your grades are too high. So you're going to have to change the curve, kind of like Harvard with Asians, where they do so much better on the standardized testing that they just give them demerits for their personality traits, right? All of a sudden, every Asian has a horrible personality attending Harvard, but every other minority is just the cat's pajamas. That's what's actually happening. There's a lawsuit at Harvard.
Wow.
That's what they did. So what the teacher did is he said, look, I'm just going to have to take all your grades down by anywhere from 5 to 7 points. I'm sorry. That should not be the goal of teaching. Your goal as a teacher should be, at the end of the year, everyone gets 100%. Everyone gets an A. Not saying that that is going to happen, but that should be the goal. Not to trick people, not to try and thin the herd and not include people or show that they're not agreeing with the right opinions. It should be something that can be measured, that is consistent, with quantifiable progress. Ideally, every student at the end of that year has a better grade than at the beginning of the year. That's just my view of teaching. Unfortunately, many teachers do not share that view, as seen by their opposition to standardized testing. And by the way, the UC program, did you guys know this? We don't have this planned today, but you can bring it up as an overlay. UC, like UC Berkeley, UC Davis. No more SATs.
Really?
What?
Why?
Doing away with
Did
SATs.
they say why?
Racism, some shit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I actually didn't take the
Critical race
SATs
theory.
and I graduated and nobody understands how. I never took them, I swear to God.
Oh, well, so the...
Wait, you graduated college, you mean?
No, high school.
Well, you don't need the SATs to
No,
graduate high
there's
school.
a
You
different
don't?
test for high school.
I didn't know. There was the
State
ACTs,
test.
and I was like, I'm not
GED
taking
test
those
for high
either.
school, isn't it?
No, I mean... Like, there's
ACT,
this-
I remember the letters.
No. All right, so you're...
I had a teacher. I had a teacher.
Did you lose points for filling out what test you were
I
taking?
did. I had a teacher, I swear to God, I came into class one day where I didn't have weed and wasn't high, and he was like, you smell like pot. And I was like, are you kidding? And he brought me down to the office, and they searched my locker and my car, and I'm like, of all the days.
I won the
Lucky
lottery.
Dave.
I just bought myself 6 months.
I did too, and then the principal he brought us to ended up getting drugged with pot brownies, but that's a different story.
Okay. What were you saying there, Gerald?
I was saying that they have state testing that you didn't pass.
That's
right?
what it was, ACT.
No, ACT and SAT are college entrance exams.
Oh,
both
I
of
didn't
them.
need that.
But they... The other thing they had...
I'm being genuine.
But you saw that they're doing away with it in the UC program. That's the only thing left in that shithole. Sorry, we're not on shithole that is California. As people say, well, at least they got some great colleges. Not for long.
And not really.
Well, no, not in Cali.
Oh my
Get in
gosh.
for no
Okay.
reason.
So on Wednesday, the CDC's second in command.
Is a piece of shit without spending $200,000.
On Wednesday, the CDC, their second in command, Ann Shushat, stepped down after there were emails that show that she colluded with the American Federation of Teachers Unions to keep in-person schools closed. Okay, this matters. We're going to go through the science of this because you cannot say this is the problem, right? When you label somebody a hero, you say they're a hero. What does that mean? They're untouchable.
Yeah.
Well, don't question the heroes. So when the heroes say, hey, well, just like Fauci, trust the science means follow Yellow Book Fauci, right? That's what it means. It means follow Fauci, not all of the other scientists. And by the way, these rules are a little complicated, provided that they aren't superseded by the word of a non-scientist hero like a teacher. Because at that point, the science, and we'll get to it, showed us that in-student learning was not a risk. The CDC even talked about this. But for some reason, teachers were saying, how much are our lives worth? And they didn't want to go back into class. They wanted to make it seem like they were being thrown into the leper pit for crying out loud. For the longest time, and no one could question them because they are our heroes. So Randy Weingarten, president of the Teachers Union, defended the organization, their lobbying efforts to keep students out of classes. Here you go.
So you call it normal, though, I guess in the write-up of the Post saying those two suggestions that you offered, at least your organization offered, make it nearly verbatim in the final draft. Do you call that normal as far as the ability to do that?
Look, Pedro, they asked us for language, and we gave them language when they asked us for it.
Oh, so there you go. They asked them for it.
So you guys have advanced degrees in medicine, and they wanted language so that they could contribute to the report? Is that what you're saying? No.
You know what's funny? We talked about like Rashida Tlaib saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
That's not what this is. It's not they're saying the quiet part out loud. It's they have no worry of accountability whatsoever. It's like, what if no one is doing debate prep? No one is doing interview prep with these people going, what if I say the wrong thing? They're going, think he was going to cover it?
You can't.
It's so blatant right now. He went out when you talk about Vice President Joe Biden. It's very easy. He should know about the internet. They don't care that he's going to blatantly rip off Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
They don't care that he's going to quote Mao because they know that if you talk about it, it will be buried or, like this, it'll be removed from 95% of the information delivery platforms that exist. So it's not the quiet part out loud. They're just saying what they think now. Oh, no, we work with the CDC and we gave them the language and they did what we said. So just goes to show how corrupt and intertangled the CDC and teachers unions are. Let me go through the emails really quickly. It showed here, bring this up from the New York Post, CDC Director Rochelle Walensky, White House Coronavirus Testing Coordinator Carol Johnson, and there was an Associate Director of Public Engagement for the White House, Will McEntee. Right? These are the people who were involved. In one of the emails, Kelly Troutner, she's a senior director, for the Federation of Teachers Unions, argued for the inclusion. So just to show you, I want to bring this up as a side-by-side. When people say, well, you're misquoting them, and they said they asked for language. Verbatim, let me bring it up here. And this is from a non-scientist, right?
Okay.
This is what was included. They said, this line needs to be included. And the line was, in the event of high community transmission results from a new variant of SARS-CoV-2, a new update of these guidelines may be necessary, and you can see the CDC final document says it is possible that due to increased levels of community transmission, mitigation strategies and school guidance may need to be updated to account for new evidence of risk. It is exactly, and it happened in the same sequence. It happened during the timeline. Why is the CDC taking the guidance from a teacher? Why is it not going the other way around?
It doesn't seem to make any sense to me. I thought the CDC was the expert on this. Like, do they not understand how schools function? Have they not been in classrooms before and understand that teachers teach students and students are supposed to learn from teachers and it's in a building? Like, I didn't know it was more complicated than that for CDC.
So many presuppositions in that statement that I disagree with.
So much has just gone on that I don't know what's happened.
I'm totally
that
lost.
Teachers are all about teaching?
Well, no, I'm saying they should be.
They should be.
In an ideal world.
Should, yeah. Well, if ifs and buts, something Christmas.
Candy and nuts, it would be Christmas every day.
Something like that. I thought there was some sexual innuendo there, but you know what I'm talking about. So this also came, by the way, a week after Nancy Messonnier, just reading this to make sure I don't get the names wrong, 20-year CDC veteran, former head of the COVID-19 task force, resigned, right, from her position. And people are like, well, that's weird when we didn't get the full story.
Yeah.
She ruffled the wrong feathers. Well, according to Politico, she clashed with Biden and officials over decision-making. She was reassigned to the CDC's incident management response team just one day before her department was to decide whether or not to lift the pause on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
What?
And she immediately, you say tomato blood clot.
I said you have until noon to get her out of here.
Right.
And by God, son of a...
And it's a government agency, so by noon, that means,
That guy was fired.
Tomorrow-ish.
Yeah.
This is all very messed up.
The only explanation that was given, this is from the New York Times, my family and I have determined that it is now is the best time for me to transition to a new phase of my career, that of the unemployment line.
It pays really well, though,
new
Steve.
phase of my career.
It's a new phase. Oh, you mean you're doing a Jimmy Braddock going, are you going to give the money back? No, I don't have that kind of pride.
I hope she bought the dip.
She's just sitting there. She's like, you know what the worst part about, what am I going to do with all this Dogecoin?
That's so much.
And by the way, I advise my students to buy Dogecoin. Elon Musk was going to be on SNL. It was a lock, as close to a sure thing as I could picture. It tanks.
Who knew?
I should never trust the science.
Damn industry whales.
Just enough Doge to buy a bullet.
Just one.
To rent a gun and buy a bullet.
Oh, we are not advocating that.
Not
No,
at all.
no. Hey,
I'm just saying.
not in this
Quote.
show.
It was a
I'm
movie
saying.
quote.
But we believe in personal freedoms. You do you. So, all you have to do is look at the data from the CDC. We want to be clear here. Okay, did this happen? Before we get to the corruption of teachers' unions, when people talk about big oil money, when people talk about the Koch brothers, people have no idea as to the money that exchanges hands from unions, virtually all of which come from these organizations and go to Democrats. And when I say all of which, I mean, you're talking about 50-something million, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
100% going to Democrats, statistically 100% because $50 or something like that went to Republicans.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, when you understand, look, is it surprising to anyone that public sector unions support big government, who believe in giant public sector unions, it's a never-ending cycle of corrupt teacher arm fat bullshit, okay? So let's look at the data from the CDC while people are talking about trusting the science. On the transmission with school-age children.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing that could get us banned from YouTube. It's from the CDC, you pieces of shit!
I think it almost did get us banned, or hard-stricken at least once.
Less than, that's not a word.
Hard-stricken.
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 Less than 10% of COVID cases have been amongst anyone ages 5 to 17.
Wow.
Cases.
That's small.
Deaths, way lower, right?
Much lower.
You can't say that it's lower than the standard flu with people that age, as opposed to older people where it's significantly higher, because that might actually be looking at the science, and YouTube wouldn't want us to actually examine the immunoresponse and see why do certain people react to this virus different ways. The facts don't matter that young people, not only are they not typically carriers, not only are they not actually being a part of these case statistics, but statistically non-existent as part of the death statistics. That should matter if we're following the science and we want to figure out how to actually address this pandemic, as opposed to just lock everything down until everybody gets vaccines. Where, by the way, hope you enjoy being the control group.
Yeah. Well, and especially when teachers are making the argument that you're sending us back into schools and you don't care about our lives and we're all going to die.
Yeah.
That was exactly what they were saying.
Right.
Not word for word, but they're saying, guys, you don't care about our lives. We're not going back in. There's no way until you pay us more and do all these things that we ask.
Can you imagine these bitches on D-Day? Just as those boats and those trucks come down and speak, nope.
Just push the students to the front of the
It's
boat.
July. Call me in 2.5 months when I bitch about my salary.
It's my off time.
Technically June, but hey. Whatever.
I'm so tired of the teacher crap. I'm sorry. Heroes. No. So...
At least
did nothing.
500 of them that had sex with their students in 2019.
Yeah, alone.
Those stories were every day.
Well, I tell you what.
And
the
those
ones
were
with
the
little
real
boys,
heroes.
those boys were the heroes to all their
Oh, they were. Oh, can you
my
imagine?
gosh. Those guys couldn't use their working hand for a week from all the high fives.
Who would send pictures to a teenage boy? Like, he's not just going to go, hey, guys.
Check this out. Yeah.
dude, check it out.
I mean, before he even has time to zoom in, his finger instinctively hits the forward to all button.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're not known for their discretion at that age, right?
It's like, oh,
By
you
the way,
don't believe me? Huh?
Yeah.
That's actually
Right
a really
there.
good point. The teacher sex lives really suffered in 2020.
They really did.
Yeah.
They were not. You didn't hear as many stories about how good they were getting it.
Listen.
I liked how they were all married.
Oh, wait, hold on 1 second. Pause really quickly. Fauci saying highly likely Americans will need booster shots.
More shots.
There we go. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Not
There's
happening.
what it is. Let's bring it up. Bring up the volume really quickly.
Over, what's the point of even getting a shot now if I have to get another one later?
Good point.
We have to be aware
Yes.
of that mentality and not jump the gun.
You are I think it's fair to say up in arms after reading your op-ed about.
How funny would it be if she was an amputee? She's like, poor form!
So much so.
Where do they
Biden
put the
administration needs
shot?
to step in and correct them.
I don't
Yeah,
have any
I mean, I think that the
different.
CDC was trying to do something good, which was to explain to individuals who are fully vaccinated that we are now very well protected, and that's an important message. But the CDC is
By
not
individuals,
an
I
individual
mean
doctor
everyone.
talking to
Right.
an individual patient.
And by well protected, I mean for 6 to 9 months.
Right.
Until
you have
the
to get
booster's required.
another
Yeah.
one.
And by the way, don't forget, of course, there won't be the same kind of price controls that you had under Obama, that you had under Donald Trump. Hope you enjoy $5,000 insulin. Look, let me really quickly cut this off at the pass because I can see people out there right now and I hear liberals make this argument. This is something I think everyone should do at home. I told Dave, and I'm sorry it's a little free flow today. There we have so many topics
Don't
to get to. I want to go
apologize.
back to the teaching, but this matters because I know what the argument is going to be with this. A training tool that I use at home, okay, is I try and find the smartest people who I can on YouTube. Typically YouTube, it could be Rumble, wherever, you know.
Not CNN.
Sometimes CNN.
Typically not.
CNN if I'm looking for an easy day. You know what I mean? You have to stagger your training, just like lifting weights. You have a heavy, you have a moderate, you have a light. CNN's a light day.
Yeah.
But what I'll do is I will watch a liberal argument, I'll watch a video, and I'll pause and respond in real time. So that you learn how to rationalize your position in real time. Because a lot of people, right, it's like the jerk store called, they go, oh, this is what I would say, and then they get flummoxed when they actually have to do it in real time.
Yeah.
And this was something right away, because the booster shot thing is not new. They're just talking about it on CNN right now, because they are gradually, drip, 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 trying to ease people into the idea. And I don't remember who I was watching, but they're making this argument going from the left. Oh, you have to do a booster shot? Just like every flu shot you have to get every year. It's no different. Pause. I said incorrect. And I remember going through this training, right? And I just had to think out loud what the argument would be. Let me ask you here, why is this different from a flu shot that you have to take every year?
You don't have to take a flu shot.
Well, you also don't, yes, that too, you don't have to take a flu shot. But a flu, why is the flu shot different from, let's say, the polio vaccine?
It's tested.
Well, I thought a vaccine was different than a shot that's just supposed to help you for a year.
The flu is different, just like a cold. It mutates. It changes. Right. That's not the same as these viruses that we know we have concretely, right? Where you are supposed to be immune. That's how vaccines work. You one time get, I know when I was, what did we do? We did rubella, polio, measles, mumps. Was there a shingles vaccine?
There's a chickenpox.
Chickenpox.
The point is the flu shot is an exception to the rule. Now, you guys are the ones who've made it very clear that this is not the flu, that this is different, that this is more comparable to the Spanish flu, that this is more comparable to things like cholera, this is more comparable to other diseases out there that have required one-time immunizations. And, like you said, people do not require you to get a flu shot to engage in commerce.
Right.
It is not the same. You cannot pick the sole exception to the general rule of vaccinations. I shouldn't say sole, one of the preeminent exceptions of flu shot compared to all of the other vaccines that you get once in your life. Furthermore, we were told it was once, or a series of vaccines 1 and 2. It is perfectly reasonable for everyone to say, booster shot, that's not the deal I was sold. It's like selling someone a car, and then they go home, they drive it 6 months later, showing up saying, hey, you owe me $900. You say, but I paid cash. Doesn't matter. Now we've decided this is the deal. That's not how it works. It's not like the flu.
Right, and that's the CDC has basically been doing this every single time. They are stepping on themselves, right? We go all the way back to the Surgeon General saying masks, don't go out and buy masks, everybody, and then saying, oh, wait, by the way, we should do that. And Fauci saying, oh my gosh, you can't take your masks off. And like 2 days later, the CDC, oh, guess what? In public, you can take your masks off. Who knew if you're vaccinated that you would be able to do that? And then they come out and say this, well, it's just one shot. Well, this year.
Yeah.
Next year, we're probably, honestly, if that's the case, that's fine. I know that the COVID virus is going to evolve a little bit and it's going to change. It's going to mutate. That's fine. You should have said that from the beginning. Hey, guys, this will take care of us for right now. We'll see how this thing changes and if further shots are necessary.
But the current shot, again, the CDC said the current shot seemed to protect against mutations.
It did, yes.
That's what they've said.
They're
I don't know what their official statement is today, but I know that last week they said if you get the 2 vaccines, the variants really aren't that concerning. Also, they have said that the mutations tend to be more contagious. This is what they've said, and I understand that now there's conflicting information, but less severe in some instances. And I know you'll say, well, what about India? They cover themselves in human shit and cow shit, okay? Let's split the difference. It's not relevant. Let's talk about Western medicine, which you love to vilify until it comes to a vaccine, okay? Otherwise, go to India, take your chances with Kashtanga root. The United States is not India. We're a better country. What do I mean by better country? I mean more people want to come here than migrate to India, and we don't cover ourselves in human shit. Also, if we have to shit, we don't use the sidewalk. And if we don't have access to a toilet, we use the corner.
That's right.
Unless you're San Francisco and then you do use the sidewalk.
I should say, I lived in New York. They certainly do use the sidewalk.
They look you in the eyes.
Oh, they'll stare at you. They're like, do you like it?
And you're like, I don't. Like, I already knew.
That's why I'm doing it.
Rhetorical question. Okay.
Enjoy your
So let's go back now.
Is that corn?
Let's go back to the CDC.
It's always corn.
With schools. March 19th, 2021.
It's a shoelace.
A whole year after schools were shuttered, the CDC wrote. So we just talked about infection rates, case rates. We just talked about death rates with young people. Now let's look specifically at the CDC when they talked about schools. This is from March 19th, 2021. So pretty recent. Based on the data available, in-person learning in schools has not been associated with substantial community transmission. Though outbreaks do occur in school settings, multiple studies have shown that the transmission within school settings is typically lower than, or at least similar to, levels of community transmission when prevention strategies are in place in schools. And keep in mind, when people say, how much is your life worth? This is also something, too, that people use. Those who argue only in terms of safety. Right now, the people who are running the country are risk assessment experts. Okay? The people who founded the country were the people who gave swirlies to the risk assessment experts.
Yes.
Do you think George Washington was going, what's the risk here? The most powerful, we're talking about the most powerful nation that's ever existed versus just a couple cents on tea. Let's start blowing heads off and switch to coffee, right? And now you have people who are showing up as risk assessment experts saying, you can't possibly consider anything other than total devastation and destruction to the economy. How much is one life worth? And they act as though there is no cost. Not only cost of life, cost of livelihood, opportunity costs, and by the way, in some cases, more significant health costs due to their measures. There's a pros and cons list. That's all we're asking here of allowing kids to go to school and barring them from going to school. Well, what results do we have from the in-home learning, from people not going to school?
Terrible.
We had increased anxiety, we had increased depression, we had dramatically increased suicides, and we had lower grades and higher failure rates. So what you need to do, teachers' unions, and CDCs, be honest about that and say, look, okay, kids are killing themselves in record numbers. Kids are doing far more poorly in schools. They're not being socialized. They're depressed. We're seeing behavioral disorders. However, the teachers' unions are happy, and the death rate with kids is we believe that we've lowered it from 0.01 to 0.09. You can't just not take into account the opportunity cost. And people who do, it doesn't mean they're anti-science. Guess what? Statistics are a science too.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things, too, kids weren't outside playing. They weren't going to school. They weren't getting better nutrition. Sometimes it's not available in the home. Like, I saw my nephews gain weight during this, significant weight that they've thankfully since worked back off. But it's like, that's a health problem.
That's foreshadowing the Tess Holiday segment.
Well, in a little bit here. But also, one more point. It's easy to control people when they're afraid of something, right?
Yes.
Look at when they're afraid of everything.
Well, yeah. Look at all the despotic regimes that have come to power. There's always a common enemy that they make you afraid of, and then they say, this is necessary because of some boogeyman basically hiding in the closet here. And teachers are like, oh, you can't do this right now. You've got to give us a lot more money, by the way, if we're going to go back to this really dangerous environment of the classroom with this COVID stuff.
Yeah.
Well, also
like they're working on an oil rig in the middle of the Gulf that's going to explode, or they're in the coal mines getting the black lung. Well, hey, but what is that, a canary? Oh, shit. It's just,
Well, I firmly believe the easiest way to control a society is through risk of health.
Oh, yeah.
And that seems to be it, because people don't even realize they're unhealthy when they are now. I mean, there's so many different, which that brings us to Tess. Anyway, it will. But it really does. It does seem that that's always the thing, where if you can put people in fear of their own health, and you have the thing that's invisible to be afraid of, it's the easiest way to control people. And it really freaks me out, because even with this, obviously kids need to go to school. There's obviously horrible repercussions to them not going.
Right.
And what are we doing about it? We're trying to get out of it.
Well, no, we're not. That's not what we are doing about it. What this administration, it's a good point. But
the administration,
if it doesn't make sense, it's because this administration right now, the entire DNC, is in bed with the teachers unions. Their goal is not to help your children, to help students. Their goal is to make sure that their donor base, huge donor base, many tens of millions of dollars, is happy. And sometimes we act like, well, what's good for the teachers is good for the students. Well, that's not necessarily true.
Not anymore.
And then you go, what's good for the teachers union is good for the teachers. That's definitely not true. And then we say, so what's good? Therefore, what's good for the teachers' unions are good for students. Nope. As a matter of fact, there's often an inverse correlation. You scientists out there, you know what that means, right? But I digress. Safety third. So
school shootings dropped.
Yeah. Is it any wonder? Yeah, but homeschool shootings have gone up. Do you have any idea? The profits for Sony Vaio and MacBook Pros.
Oh, just insane.
Unbelievable. It's just like Elvis sitting at home watching a TV shooting with a gun. This show ain't no good.
No, you know what it was? Robert Goulet.
It's Robert Goulet.
He hated the fact it was Robert Goulet.
He hated the fact it was Robert. Well, look, these kids are committing suicide in record numbers. They're miserable. Their grades are worse. And is it any wonder when they're dealing, by the way, with teachers like this?
I don't care if you're vaccinated, you little dink.
Whoa.
Dang.
I don't want to get sick and die.
Okay.
There's other people you can infect just because you're vaccinated. You know what? You're not a special person around here. You should hear about how everybody talks about you. You're a jerk.
Talk to me. I don't care how people
You're
talk
a
about
jerk.
me. Okay.
No, you interrupted me, Paul. You interrupted me.
Oh, God forbid.
Please do not interrupt me.
How about you shut up?
Can I finish?
They make recommendations for the entire country.
Watch her get winded
based
here.
It's
on
great.
Their
She lost
knowledge and their understanding.
She's wearing a sweater
of what
over
is
her
best
face.
for everyone. And they don't need to visit our school district to make recommendations for everyone. And we're not following that.
Gets worse.
But I do think that we should follow their request and their recommendation for masking.
I think cops are heroes and they have to have a difficult job, but
Boy, if
right here, he said.
I'd say a good majority of them. You have bad people.
Sorry, can you rewind that a little bit, Dan? Because we were laughing so hard at the masking
too
thing.
funny.
This is another teacher, okay.
Get you back there.
Masking.
Everyone,
I think cops are heroes and they have to have a difficult job, but we have to have that
All of
fine
them?
life. Oh, I'd say a good majority of them. You have bad people in every business and every part. Well, wait,
a lot of
wait.
police officers have committed atrocious crimes and have gotten away with it and have never been convicted of any of it.
Where's the proof?
And I say this as a person who has family members who are police officers.
Who do we call when we're in trouble and someone has a knife or a gun?
I wouldn't call the police.
Why wouldn't you call the police?
I don't trust them. My life's in more danger.
Who would you call?
In their prisons.
Professor, who would you call?
I wouldn't call anybody.
Well, would you have if
I'm
someone
gonna protect
intruded
my
your
phone and
house
Please
with a
do
gun?
that.
Well, would you have a gun on you, or
No.
who would you call?
It's my time to go.
Time to go.
sometimes when they lay in, it's best to just let them finish, Clark. Look, that child, that student, is teaching the professor.
Yeah.
This is why when people say, liberals are, intellectuals are more likely to be liberal. No, you mean people who've attended academia.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's a difference between what you consider intellect, meaning a college degree that you could have achieved for 54 cents in late fees at your public fucking library, right? That versus wisdom. Old people who are liberal when they're young tend to become more conservative across the board. By the way, that's even true of people who attended college. Not saying they're a majority conservative, but as they get further and further away from university and they get further and further into responsibilities of having a family, of paying taxes, of looking to retire, they invariably become more conservative. You can look at that trend. So let's not just equate intellect with academia. That student right there is educating that professor. You want to tell me that professor, who, by the way, may have a doctorate for all we know, is speaking intelligently and has thought critically through, a rapist is in your house with an axe and a raging erection, you have no firearm, and you're not calling the cops because something racism.
Well, no.
That's time to go.
Very specifically, she said, my life is in more danger with them around.
Yeah.
Okay, let's test this theory. I have a police officer in this room over here. I have a murderer and rapist in this room. Please choose the door.
It doesn't pass the Dirty Harry test. Teachers are supposed to be able to utilize critical thinking. You think you're more in danger in calling the police than with that intruder? Listen, sweetheart, some guy shows up with a raging boner and a butcher knife. He's probably not collecting for the Red Cross.
Well, I have had it where a rapist has shown up, and I've called the police, and they've all raped me too.
Well, that's not the police.
It was the police.
Hey, they were dressed as police.
No.
This all started when you called the stripper police, Dave. We've been through this. Police don't show up with a boombox, okay?
Is that why they were filming it? And the director kept yelling, "Action, swallow, action."
Yeah, okay, that's enough.
Hey,
Come on.
Sorry, give him the ding.
Sorry, too far.
By the way, here's something, too. Not to mention, as we go through this, that doesn't make any
Don't
sense.
call the cops.
Teachers are overwhelmingly liberal. Okay, let's follow the money, because this is something they'd love to talk about, dark money, when it involves people doing an anti-Hillary Clinton documentary, which is the reason for Citizens United. That's the reason for it. Hillary Clinton wanted to shut down people, young kids, from making an anti-Hillary Clinton documentary, and the court ruling said, no, you know what? Corporations in that sense are people too. They're entitled to First Amendment protections. That's what Citizens United is. We can talk about money and politics, but you can't just overturn Citizens United. However, when it comes to giant public sector unions giving ungodly amounts to politicians, by the way, collected effectively by force in these non-right-to-work states from their members with no say in where the money goes, all of a sudden we're a little bit murky in the rule book. So, 2017 Ed Week study found that 41% of educators identified as Democrat, just 27% as Republicans. 50% voted for Hillary in 2016 compared to 29% who voted for Trump. When people talk about big political donations, teachers' unions, when you're talking about organizations, they're one of the top 10 political donors of all time. And you can follow us across the board with any public sector unions. Guess how much they've given over time to Democrats?
Millions.
Yeah.
How many?
55 million.
Jeez.
100% to Democrats.
Not even one Republican. Wow. There, huh?
This year, the American Federation of Teachers, PAC. Hey, what happened to being against PACs? Citizens United.
Nope.
1.6 million to congressional candidates for the 2022 elections. 1 million of this went to the House Majority PAC, a super PAC that boosts Democratic candidates. So even if it doesn't go directly to Democrats, what happens is there's a teachers union PAC, and they give it to a PAC that goes exclusively to Democrats. So they can say, well, I don't know what happens once the money is out of our hands. Well, hold on a second. Where'd you get the money? Taxpayer dollars. Oh, okay. And then you collected dues from people who have to join the unions because they're not in right-to-work states. Yeah. And then where does it go? I don't know. Didn't the name Democrat have something? Didn't it throw up some red flags when you gave it to a PAC? I don't know. Science escapes me.
Let me see if I get this straight. So the biggest donors historically, the unions, are allowed to give money, but they want to get rid of any corporation that might, like Adelson or whatever his name was from Vegas was giving money. They want to get rid of those people.
Yes.
So the people that balance it out, they want to get rid of that.
Yes.
Okay, that's
precisely
what I thought.
And keep in mind, too, why would they do this? This isn't some conspiracy. Democrats vote overwhelmingly for more funding for schools, right? Consistently, they vote for more money for schools. And by the way, if per pupil spending, if that were the measurement that we had that showed a potential rate of success for students, Detroit, Washington, D.C., these places would be heaven. They have higher than average per pupil spending compared to a private Catholic school in New York with a bigger class size, with less funding, and they don't even have a cafeteria, and they blow them off the map. Let me be really clear about this. Student outcomes, when you look at dramatically increased student spending, public education spending, hasn't gotten better. Okay? From 1970 to 2013, the spending per student, right, from kindergarten through 12, it's nearly tripled. Okay? 57,000 to 160,000. Test scores aren't better.
They haven't tripled as well, so there's not a correlation?
No, the only place that's gone up is Asians, and then we just say, yeah, but you got a shitty personality, so go on to the local community college. Your kind's not welcome at Harvard.
So it doesn't work out well for them.
Then bitch about anti-Asian hate crimes.
And then put people in prison for buying their kids' ways into these schools.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That Lori Loughlin. That's good. Glad we got her.
Those people are the problem.
But the media, the media wants to highlight 8 people.
Yeah.
A few people, people who make up, right, the female disc throwing team or the dressage team. That's not the same as saying to an entire race of people, sorry, you're too smart on standardized testing scores. So we're just going to rate you as boring, disinteresting people. That's what people think that is what happened at Harvard. That's what the lawsuit is. On all of the objective parameters, Asians outscored everybody.
Yeah.
Now, no one gets mad at that statement. That's a racist statement, just to be clear. Now, it doesn't mean inferior. It's a racist statement saying that Asians are superior, clearly, on standardized testing. So, all of the objective testing measurements, Asians outperform everyone. Not just black people, white people, right? Okay? We're victims of it, too.
Yeah.
Doot, doot. Now, what they do is they say, well, since it's objective, we have to do let's create some subjective measurements.
Right.
And I don't just mean test scores, by the way. I mean test scores. I mean GPA. I mean extracurricular activity participation. You can't find an Asian applying to an Ivy League school who's not a member of chess club. And so they just say, oh, but the subjective parameters, they rate them as more fearful, as more cowardly, as less social. These are things that someone with a gender studies degree who sits on a board can throw in because they want to use quotas. Because again, it's not about what is best for the students. It's not about what is best for Americans. It's not about what is best for a meritocracy, which ultimately benefits everybody. It is what is best for the political donors. And this is really important. When people talk about political donors, they think it's the elite ruling class. It's not just Amazon. It's not just Zuckerberg. It's not just Google, YouTube. Notice I still haven't named a single conservative donor with the top most powerful companies of all time. It's also these giant public sector unions who give all of their money to Democrats so that they get kickbacks regardless of performance. Schools are not better. You are worse off for the public education sector, the unions having more power over your life. Teachers' salaries and benefits, they've gone up 80%.
80% of their entire budget, actually, I think is what it's saying. 80% is used for salaries.
Yes, sorry. 80% of the total budget is now what makes up. It went from, anyway, it doesn't matter. We have all the sources available at louderwithcrowder.com. Salaries have gone up. Benefits have gone up. Time off has gone up for teachers. Pupil spending has gone up. And kids aren't doing any better. In many cases, they're doing worse. And they have fewer opportunities if their last name is Fang.
And they hate charter schools and any opportunity for kids to actually go and learn from teachers who have to keep their jobs by doing a good job.
This is one of those things where we talk about common ground. Look, and I know we're running late, so we have so much to get to. Anyone, and we're going to take your chat, right? Please go to crowdershop.com to support us right now. We'll update you on the coming lawsuit. Of course, if you're on Rumble, we're going to go to Mug Club after this is an additional 45 minutes. Subscribe to the podcast, Apple, Android. It's a live show, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. That's the best way to just tune in, 10 a.m. You can comment your thought on the public education sector. But here's my question. Does anyone have a valid argument at all against charter schools? Does anyone out there have a valid argument against school vouchers? Now, I'm not even talking about defunding public education. I don't think there should be a federal Department of Education. What I'm saying is that rather than, I don't know what the number is right now, an average of somewhere maybe $12,000, $13,000 per pupil. Last I checked, it was $11,000.
11 and change, yeah.
Is it 11 and change still? Yeah. $11,000 per pupil spending. This money is what we spend on average per student, right, in a school. School voucher program says, hey, you don't have to go to the school that's nearest to you. You can take that money is now attached to the student, that child, and he can take that equivalent voucher to any school, provided his parents are willing to drive him, he's willing to take a bike or a bus. The only argument I've heard against it, I swear to you, and this is the argument that John, is it's racist. Because black kids they'll be in bad neighborhoods, and so they won't be able to make. Well, they're in a bad neighborhood now, and the school already sucks.
Yeah,
give them an option.
Yeah.
They would absolutely go for it. The only argument that I've read, Thomas Sowell wrote a book about this, and it's phenomenal. He said, oh, they don't do as well. The charter schools don't have any measurable difference. And it's like, that's not true. You actually have charter schools that are housed in the same buildings as public schools, and when you compare those, they have a huge benefit. The numbers are off.
Thomas Sowell was arguing against charter schools?
No, for them.
Yeah,
he was arguing for them, saying this argument that they're giving is absolutely crazy.
Okay, I thought you were saying it was. I was like, no, you misquoted.
The argument in the book.
Isn't that just what they do now? Though, is they just say it's racist, and that's how you win every single argument.
You're catching on.
I think it's true.
No, you've got it.
Just say it's racist.
What was that?
Also, if your kid's
it's
a little...
racist.
That guy just says bullshit.
Go ahead.
If your kid's a little bit stupid, you can send him to one of the bad schools, and he can get an A.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Yay.
Well, they'll lower your grades if you're getting A's, so you shoot for like a B, because that won't get lowered.
Michelle Pfeiffer will be your teacher and get you known karate.
Absolutely. But it'll throw off the curve, or in Tess Holliday's case, the fold. So let's go on here to the Iron Dome with Israel. Okay. This is something that's pretty important. We were just talking about this in passing because this is going on in Israel.
Yeah.
The Iron Dome, and it's really cool to watch. We'll have a clip from that. But a lot of people don't realize this technology that's being used, the Iron Dome, which is basically a technology that intercepts missiles.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, how are they disappearing? They're actually hitting them with kind of like little tiny missiles. This is a technology that Ronald Reagan, the Gipper, also spokesperson for Chesterfield's The Better Cigarette for You, doctor recommended. He advocated for this. He proposed this, what was called the Strategic Defense Initiative, as a method to de-escalate nuclear war during the Cold War back in '83. Here's a clip.
It is that we embark on a program to counter the awesome Soviet missile threat with measures that are defensive. Let us turn to the very strengths in technology that spawned our great industrial base and that have given us the quality of life we enjoy today. What if free people could live secure in the knowledge that their security did not rest upon the threat of instant U.S. retaliation to deter a Soviet attack, that we could intercept and destroy strategic ballistic missiles before they reached our own soil or that of our allies? I call upon the scientific community in our country, those who gave us nuclear weapons, to turn their great talents now to the cause of mankind and world peace, to give us the means of rendering these nuclear weapons impotent and obsolete.
And keep in mind, not like the former Vice President Biden, not once during that clip did he shit his pants.
That's true.
And he's almost the same age.
I'm just saying, it's the little wins that you don't see that add up.
Yeah. He also finished sentences.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Cool.
Listen, just in case you think he was 77.
Yeah, he was 77 years old.
Biden is 78 right now. Compare the two.
And I just want to, because we have to get through this relatively quickly. The Strategic Defense Initiative, right? It was designed to intercept nuclear missiles using Earth and space-based laser stations, just to be clear.
Right.
And so this is important because everyone mocked it. As a matter of fact, you can probably run a search right now, Star Wars missile defense system.
Yeah.
This wasn't his term. This was a term that was used to try and mock him and say that it was crazy and it would never work. And the left, just like they did with Donald Trump, just like they did with George W. Bush, this is not new. You just didn't know it because at that point you actually thought that Brokaw and Rather or Walter Cronkite were, my God, actual journalists. All of them agreed. Star Wars missile defense system, crazy old bastard. It's what's being used now. So this is, and just in case you don't believe me, this is the technology that really was kind of abandoned by the United States because people don't understand this policy can be dictated by cultural mockery.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see that right now. Right now they're talking about on CNN, the Insurrection Commission, right? Policy can be determined by what people believe culturally. People believe culturally that folks showed up with guns, that there were 5 or 6 deaths. No, they don't understand that there were hundreds of thousands of people. They don't understand that people were actually let through the halls. I'm not saying that people shouldn't get hit with trespassing or unruly conduct. Look, here's a deal I would take tomorrow. A new segment we're going to start. A deal I would take tomorrow. I would vote yes on the January 6th commission. If you vote yes on the Black Lives Matter, $3 billion in damages and thousands of arrests and hundreds of casualties commission. You vote yes on that, I'll vote yes on January 6th. Let the cards fall where they may. How about that?
100%.
Take that deal tomorrow. Okay, let's go here to now the technology that was picked up because one country's trash is another country's national defense program. The Iron Dome defense working right now in Israel with over 3,000 rockets being fired indiscriminately from Hamas. Really cool to watch. So eerie to watch, I half expect Joaquin Phoenix to walk back into a closet. And then, boom, disappears in the sky. Keep in mind, 90% interception rate.
That's insane.
Yeah. So when people say, oh, look at how few Israelis died compared to Palestine, it's because they actually protect their people.
They're better at this than
if they didn't have the technology, not an offensive technology, by the way, a defensive technology, I don't understand why anyone would be against the Iron Dome, even though AOC, those people are against the Iron Dome. It's to me like why liberals want to ban body armor.
Yeah.
I'm not going to beat someone over the head with it.
Makes no sense.
I'd be better off using a Flintstones frying pan than body armor. It is entirely a defensive tool. Let's take away the 90% interception rate. Do that math with, I think, probably now 4,000 rockets, somewhere near that number. It's got to be over 4,000 rockets. And more than, not 90% don't get in, 100% do get in. How many dead Israelis do you have now?
Yeah, exactly. That was the only thing that Trevor Noah got right, was that there was a giant Dikembe Mutombo in the sky swatting stuff down. I was like, yeah, that's a good thing, and you turned it into a bad thing.
You know what? Let's stop saying dead Israelis. Dead Jews.
Yeah.
Because you guys want to say anti-Semitic. You guys want to talk about anti-Semitic hate crimes. Jews. Because sometimes people think, you shouldn't say Jews. Not 90% interception rate from the Iron Dome, the technology that you mocked from Ronald Reagan. 100% success rate with the rockets. How many dead Jews?
Right.
0.
Well, how many dead Arabs that are living in Israel that have the most freedom in the entire Arab world?
Yeah.
Out of the 1.5 or 2 million that live there.
So these are people watching rockets being shot at them, getting knocked out of the sky.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's bad?
On a daily
And by the way, it happens on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Every single child in Israel knows the quickest route to bomb shelters, like fire exits.
This is like the Blitz in London. This is like them getting bombed all the time. It's like, it's part of life. We go down into the subways, or we go over here, and we live our life underground.
Joel, yesterday, he said that they live in them.
Yeah.
They live in
Some
the
of
bomb
them live in them.
shelters.
Yeah.
Wow.
They have to build their houses with concrete so that if a missile does, or a rocket, it's not guided, if it hits them, hopefully it does less damage.
And then sometimes they lose sense of time and they come out with a horrible Brendan Fraser film. So here's another comparison to Ronald Reagan in 1983.
Joe didn't like it.
He did not like it. I'm sorry, Joe Lewis. He outlined America's strategy, and this was part of the National Defense System, which has now become the Iron Dome. A part of his stance, posturing, which, like we've talked about, the difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, as part of a national defense strategy. I want you to go back to this speech, which ultimately was ripped off by Joe Biden yesterday.
The defense policy of the United States is based on a simple premise. The United States does not start fights. We will never be an aggressor. We maintain our strength in order to deter and defend against aggression, to preserve freedom and peace. Since the dawn of the atomic age, we've sought to reduce the risk of war by maintaining a strong deterrent and by seeking genuine arms control. Deterrence means simply this: making sure any adversary who thinks about attacking the United States or our allies or our vital interests concludes that the risks to him outweigh any potential gains. Once he understands that, he won't attack.
And with Gorbachev, I want him to understand that we're a nation who, of course, seeks peace. But should he act up, I hope he enjoys the taste of my salty, salty balls.
His forehead is a mess.
Do you see it? It's like the map of Yugoslavia.
And keep in mind, too, again, he was mocked mercilessly by people like, Ted Kennedy referred to the Strategic Defense Initiative as, quote, Red Scare tactics and a reckless Star Wars scheme. That's where the Star Wars missile defense system came out of. They tried to turn it into something absurd, and it worked. Where the United States largely abandoned the technology, and we now know that it works if it had been developed as Ronald Reagan had seen. Again, the posturing there is very similar to Israel. They're saying, look, we want to make it clear. Let me just let me make it concise, what Ronald Reagan just said. We want to have a strong offensive, okay, and make sure that they know they cannot penetrate our defense so that they feel hopeless and they don't want to attack us. That's really what it is. My defense is impenetrable. It's impregnable. I am ferocious, right? I want to eat his children.
Exactly.
Praise be to Allah. That's what he was saying.
Yeah, whoa.
He was saying, that was Mike Tyson.
No, I know.
He was saying, strong offense. We want them to know that we can hurt them. They can't hurt us. That's boxing. People don't understand. People talk about footwork in boxing. What is boxing? Hit them. Don't let them hit you. So that's a huge component to it.
Yeah.
Look, if you want to be against being able to hit them, you don't believe that we should have nuclear weapons. You just believe China should. Okay, you're probably a public educator.
Yeah.
But if you don't at least support the idea of not allowing them to hit us, well, then you're not a pacifist. You're not anti-war, Code Pink. You're just a political opportunist. And by the way, just to be clear, this is exactly the same strategy that they took with Donald Trump. Donald Trump wanted to, develop technology that not only is offensive, but protects us. Yeah. Space Force, perfect example. What happened? People look at it and go, this is something I don't necessarily understand. Therefore, let's mock it. Here's a clip.
President Trump says his proposed Space Force would prepare us for any potential Star Wars.
Is that Lemon?
That was his Don Lemon Volume 6.
Let's get to some news here, everybody. Earlier today, Vice President Mike Pence gave a speech at the Pentagon about creating Trump's Space Force. Yep. Pence began the speech by saying, I can't believe I have to do this.
So are you happy President Trump brought the Space Force back?
You're darn right I'm happy. President Trump is going to make outer space great again.
Well, hey, Commander, how exactly is he planning to do that?
Well, for starters, we're building a big, beautiful space wall, and those filthy Neptunians are going to pay for it.
I still think Fred Willard is one of the funniest human beings
He's hilarious.
Ever. Now, here's the thing, and you could even see that was meant to be a political hack job, and he was looking for the funny in it.
Yes.
It's like, hey, how can we make this funny? I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But what did they do? They tried to mock Ronald Reagan, right? And they did this. They tried to mock him and make him seem uncool. Of course, they tried to and what did that make him? It turned him into, like Captain Hook, it turned him into Alice Cooper. It turned him into the cool guy, and he won in a landslide. The exact same thing is what happened with Donald Trump. In trying to mock it, they inadvertently made Donald Trump, of all people, seem pretty cool. So here to explain the science behind that, of course, is Smooth Manny for The Truth, according to Smooth Manny. All right, now for people, we're going to do the Tess Holiday segment here at Mug Club because I know we've gone late. I apologize. It's just I had a lot to say today. You guys let me know if the stream of consciousness bothers you in the chat, and I'll see what I try and keep it organized, but it's like, and that's bullshit, and that's bullshit. It's like I'm trying to Iron Dome the bullshit. And I do not have a 90% interception rate.
No.
I'm not that fast. Usually this is something that is available exclusively for people who are Mug Club members because Smooth Manny is sort of our resident conspiracy theorist. And of course, none of...
sort of? You mean he is?
He is. And I often think that he's crazy. And after this, I put a little bit of lithium in his water cooler.
It helps.
But this is one that I thought was relatively benign. Smooth Manny, you're here to explain... I guess sort of explain to the audience what your theory as to what's been happening here with the cool and the uncool.
So if this was a behind the paywall segment, I would dive into how there's people that don't have internal monologue. Meaning,
just dive into it. We don't care. It's not on YouTube.
Like Austin Powers after Unfree.
Hey, Rumble, hit that Rumble button really quickly because you're getting this. This is like a hybrid. You're getting stuff that would never go on YouTube. Manny, let her rip. Just really quickly, though. You like the Jews, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
That's not what he said yesterday.
Wow. So no. That's pronounced you, Jew.
Oh,
Jew. Yeah, just like he didn't go to Yale. He was incarcerated. He was jail.
Oh,
yeah. Okay,
I thought you were smart.
I'm pretty retarded.
Joe Lewis.
This whole
he
thing's
left.
getting
He doesn't like
like, I'm leaving.
Joe
Lewis. Hey, Joe Lewis.
He's had enough.
He's still pissed about your blast from the past reference.
So okay, there's people that don't have internal monologue. So sometimes when you read like books, you hear them. Not everyone does that.
Yeah.
Which means they don't have introspection.
Okay.
Oh.
What happens is when you're retarded like that, or kind of soulless, then you don't get...
Hold on a second. I volunteered for years with the mentally retarded. They most definitely have souls.
That's an insult to retarded.
Don't equate the two.
Well, hold on. Unless they're gingers.
Well, yes, of course.
Then.
Yeah, if you're ginger
So
retarded.
what happens is then you see that comedy bit or attempt at comedy and you're like, get it? Trump bad. So you get it? He's bad. So that's the main part of it. So I have a perfect example of this. Overlay Karen McDougal narrative.
Yeah.
So this is what the media try to do. Guys, Trump offered me cash after sex. Dun, dun, dun. And you know what happens? Go to the reality.
Let's go to the reality.
Yeah. What happens is that Trump had sex with her. Guys, that doesn't make Trump look bad. That makes him awesome.
It makes him look good.
Yeah. Oh, he had sex with her. And then as an insult, he even tried to pay her afterwards.
This is my show, and I did not see that coming.
Yeah, even after he was trying to give her money to leave.
Please leave. I'm done with you.
Yeah, the only thing that would make him cooler is if he tried to give it to her like this.
One of those cash guns.
Okay.
So I got.
Why are you still here? You want money?
You know I'm married. Like, get out of here.
It's like go get yourself a sandwich.
So I got these Trump memes from an anti-Trump account.
Okay.
Get it? He's the bad Sith Lord. He's a dictator, and he's Bane. Yeah, he looks fucking awesome. Hello. He looks great. Yeah, I get he's the villain, but those are amazing photoshops, first of all.
Yeah.
And he looks really cool, like bald. He should do that bald look.
He could pull it off.
Dude, he could, yeah.
Bald and a beard.
Ooh,
that's
the
look.
Looks like a berserker.
That's the look.
And the perfect example of the left, there's the introspection, lack of self-awareness, but also the left hates comedy because they hate ridicule.
Right.
So then the Trump Thanos meme that went viral was when he tweeted himself as Thanos, and it made Don Lemon cry.
Yeah.
Because,
what a bitch. I mean, it doesn't take a lot, though.
But yeah, he looked awesome. I get that Thanos is the villain, but they're like, bad guy, Trump, bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
We don't understand
They picked
memes.
the most powerful villain who's ever existed. I know someone's going, what about Galactus? Shut up and go get a wife. They're going to try and
fair point, though.
Paint him as a villain. They picked the most powerful villain in the universe, devourer of galaxies, who also, by the way, has a rainbow bracelet, which is perfectly appropriate because it was the only president to go into office as pro-gay marriage. Obama wasn't, and we still don't know about Biden. He just says, what? Queers? That's a good point. So, summarize it.
In summary, the left is totalitarian. They hate comedy because they hate to be mocked at because they're dumb. Yeah. And also, they lack self-awareness because a lot of them don't have inner speech.
Right, yeah. Literally, they're just like, hey, you know what? I know what'll stick it to them.
Yeah.
We'll tell everyone that Donald Trump had sex with a 10, and he's most comparable to the single most powerful character in the most popular, profitable fictional universe right now across the globe. That'll show them, and they wonder why he's powerful. Smooth Maddie, thank you for the truth, sir. We appreciate it. All right, thank you. Were you about to say something?
I just want to ask a question.
Yeah.
People really not have an internal dialogue?
Some people don't.
Apparently.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's that thing.
Why?
I don't know. It usually happens when you get old. Like my 97-year-old grandmother, she plays Rummy Cube with me. She starts talking a bunch of crap, and then it sort of veers into stuff about, all the crap she's seen and the Holocaust. You're like, whoa, Grandma.
Yeah, back it up.
Wow.
This is Rummy Cube. Maybe we should switch to Jenga.
Yeah, but she's an old woman, though.
Yeah, exactly.
He's talking about people who are in their 20s.
Yeah. Well,
like
you know what
NPCs.
I think it is? I think there's no discipline because they've been told by their parents that, well, you know what? You don't want to inhibit creative expression. That could be it, where they just think everything they say is good. Yeah. And it's like, well, no, it's not good, but I got a gold star. You didn't get an A. We don't give out grades anymore. Well, okay, then I guess it was good. Continue on down that path and tell everyone what a loser Donald Trump is for having sex with supermodels and being as powerful as Thanos. So please. No, wait, don't do that. Oh, don't do that. Don't. Well, I don't do what you tell me. You really should listen to me, a straight white cis male, when I say stop telling people about how successful Donald Trump has been. Now, I'm going to do the opposite of what you say. Oh, that's egg on my face, you blue-haired screeching banshee. Okay, people right now who are watching, we're going to go do a segment on Mug Club here, Tess Holiday. We went a little bit over time. We are going to be back next week on Rumble until we can stream to YouTube. We don't know exactly. Maybe streaming to Rumble after that. Subscribe to the podcast. Look, if you're watching, just subscribe to the podcast on Apple, on Android, Spotify. Leave a rating. Go to the shop. Whatever you can do to support us. We don't start a legal defense fund. We don't do charity for this show. We don't want you to give away money with nothing in return. We want to give you value for your hard-earned dollar and just, make it an even playing field. Thank you so much for the support. We are going to see you next week. If you were YouTube, even though this is just Rumble right now, but we have another 45 minutes. If you were YouTube, this is where I would tell you. So ceremoniously, I'll just say, YouTube, you know what? You can piss off.